When I was a kid in the 90s, my parents went out and bought a Packard Bell machine that cost like $1,000 to $1,500. And this machine could hardly do anything. But you know what? It had Windows, and we really thought it was amazing, and it played a few computer games, which was really amazing to us. You know, before we had played the Nintendo, but I was so into PC gaming that we did everything we could, my brothers and I. We went out and scraped money together to buy an additional stick of RAM to put in that thing, just so that we could meet the very bare specifications. So today we're talking about the $150 to $200 build, and maybe who would want something like this. And it's anybody that just wants an easy access into PC gaming. I wouldn't recommend updating this build down the road or anything like that. But you know what? I built a build in the $150 to $200 price range before, and I threw a solid state drive in there just for fun, and it was pretty snappy. You know, it worked well with a lot of games like your Counter-Strike Go. It would work well with WoW, just general browsing, homework, whatever. You know, it did a pretty good job. It was a good entrance to PC gaming. I used the A4-7300 for this rig, and here's some benchmarks that I ran. But today, less than a year later, or around a year later, I don't know the exact time frame here, so don't quote me on that, but you can buy the A6-7400K for the same exact price as the A4-7300. It's going to have better benchmarks than I showed at that time. That's why I update these PC builds regularly. Now, if you're wanting a A6-7400K benchmark or an A8-7600 that I recommend for the $200 build, you can go here to AnandTech. They've put some benchmarks here, which I don't love. I wish they would have put like Dota 2, League of Legends, CSGO, these types of games rather than the AAA titles, because I think a lot of people entering in at this price range, those are the types of graphics that they're trying to hit. But if you really wanted to, you know, if you wanted to play in 720p, you could even play some AAA titles. Take a look here at Grand Theft Auto. We're looking at the integrated graphics here because you could certainly add a second graphics card onto here that would improve the settings, and certainly an option for some of you. But for me, again, this is just a computer to get in easily and maybe a couple years down the road upgrade, okay? The reason you go with something like this says $77, but this article's out of date. $50 for the A6-7400K, and it gives you as good as, you know, the Haswell i3-4130T. Let's use the i3-4330. A little bit less performance and integrated graphics than that at a $50 price point. So instead of spending $110 on an i3 today, you spend $50 and you know, you get pretty good performance, okay? Not only that, the motherboards for the FM2 Plus platform right now are extremely cheap because we have the AM4 platform coming up. So it might be a way that you can get some rebates as people try to discount and sell these types of things, okay? And moving on, there's a few more benchmarks here. Again, I find them fairly irrelevant because I think, again, the target market here is the WoWs of the world, the League of Legends, things like that. But I'll put this in the description below so you guys can check that out. Now, I talked about the AM4 platform, okay? Here's a list of the APUs. I think a lot of these don't make sense at all. So the ones that I'm going to be looking at are these lower end ones. You know, the A6-9500, the A8-9600. These are the APUs that to me make sense, because anytime you get into the world of the $150 to $200 price range, and it just doesn't seem to make sense because you could just get a processor and a graphics card and have a better setup, okay? But it's important to realize this month that even though I'm recommending this FM2 Plus platform, that this is right around the corner. And in fact, WCCF Tech has put October 16th, 2016 as the AMD Bristol Ridge release date. So you need to keep that in mind. A lot of you probably, you know, if you're really thinking ahead, you probably ought to wait till October to build a PC like this to see either if FM2 Plus comes down considerably or see if you can get an AM4 platform going on here for just about the same price. All right, let's take a look at the rest of the build. The first thing I want to say is that you need to spend around $40 for your motherboard. Now, I'm hoping with the AM4 platform coming up next month that you'll be able to get something like an FM2 Plus motherboard for around $30. And if you could do that, you can definitely stay within the $150 budget. When I originally built this, I definitely stayed within my $150 budget. Right now, this exact setup costs more like $160 or $170. But if you're patient, if you're willing to wait for rebates, it definitely will make a difference because you can get a motherboard for $30. No questions asked. So as far as where you can save money, storage, you can get a 250 gigabyte Western Digital Caviar Blue hard drive for around 18 bucks. One of the cheaper ones that you can purchase, and a pretty reliable one as well. However, you've probably got a hard drive lying around. So if you want to save some money, you could just grab a hard drive from an old machine. I've got about 4 or 5 sitting around here. Or maybe you could get one from a friend's old computer or whatever. Just grab a hard drive where you can. Now, if you're willing to splurge here a little bit, instead of spending $20, you could spend like 60 bucks and get the same capacity in a solid state drive. And it really would change your life in terms of browsing. Everything you do, it just feels so snappy. When I built this computer, this $150 computer, I did throw a solid state drive in it, and it was very snappy. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate to give this to anyone for doing their daily work and things like that. I was actually very surprised how fast it was at just doing the basic tasks. In terms of case, I'm still recommending, just like back then, this Xeon MATX case. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's like 20 bucks. It's stayed and maintained itself as the cheapest case. And the reason it's done that, and the popular one at that, is because they've been able to maintain a certain level of quality. It's fairly low quality, but it's good enough to put a build in it, and it does the job with something like this. As far as memory, you're going to want to get a dual configuration. Now you can go with a 2x2 configuration of DDR3 memory. DDR3 is the platform for the FM2 Plus. If you go with an AM4 platform, you're going to need DDR4. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but not a lot. The difference right now is only like $5. So speaking of $5, that's the same difference between the 2x2 and the 2x4 configuration. I highly recommend you go with the 2x4 configuration, or if you already have a 2x2 configuration, that will work well. Whatever you don't just use one stick of RAM. It's going to degrade your performance immensely. Now for power supplies, we're going with a bronze certified power supply here that's relatively inexpensive, and EVGAs. Try to find something around 20 bucks. Corsair has one too this month. CX430 has a $20 rebate. It might not be the same when you come and see this video, but the point is those are out there, okay? 400 watt power supplies, bronze certified, nothing special, maybe a tier 3 or tier 4 power supply for around 20 bucks. And you could go with the Seasonic one I found earlier as well for $30 if you want to. The biggest, again, the biggest goal here is just to stay within that price range, and you can certainly do that if you look for rebates. All right, that's all I really have to say for this build, but I just wanted to say, back when we built this other build, I asked everyone, hey, is the $200 gaming PC worth building? Now, I did a $150 PC, but I did a $200 version of it and threw this poll up, and almost 3,000 people voted, and 70% of them said yes. So, if you are a person that is not able to afford a machine that has dedicated graphics, then it's absolutely worth it to jump in here to PC gaming. Get your Steam library ready, get yourself going to hopefully then upgrade down the line. You can definitely add a graphics card to this build if you want. Don't know that I'd recommend it. I might just wait a couple years and see if I could just build an entirely different machine with a dedicated graphics card. But it's certainly an option for those of you who are just trying to get into PC gaming. Love to know what you guys think about this. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you like this build, if you like these kind of videos, please help me out by liking and hitting that subscribe button. You can also help me and help support this channel by using the Amazon links in the description below. If you hit those, we get a little bit of a kickback, and this all goes towards good things like buying parts to build PCs, unsponsored builds, and one I really want to do is that Bristol Ridge build. So if you want to do that, please help me out by using those Amazon links. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.